Hi guys, welcome to
Blended Roots.
just get comfy, and I probably should have told the guys that we were gonna be okay. It's fine. It's fine.
They'll be in the garage. It'll be
It's
fine.
fine. I'm sure the boys will tell them. Okay, we're just gonna kick this off.
Yeah, because
Okay.
this is your thing. I'm just here.
Because you met him in
August.
and then you guys were married in February, and then we had your reception in May.
Yes.
Because they eloped,
We didn't tell anybody.
which was cool. Looking back on it, it was like surprise.
Although Kim, every time we would go out of town, she would be like, "Did you all get married?" No, we did not get married.
Was this the weekend?
No. So we didn't tell anybody that we were doing that. And we did after we got married in 13-degree weather outside. I did send them a text message, and then I posted on Facebook, so it was official. Just so everybody would make sure that they knew.
Yeah, official in February, but
yeah, the only person that actually knew that we were going prior was a person that I was a customer service representative. I had told my very last call that day, and my boss at the time was actually split into that call, and she heard it, and I was like, if you tell anyone, no one knows. You cannot, because she was like, I didn't know, and I was like, no, you don't. You still don't know. You still don't know. You're not allowed to know. So
well, and then your officiant, and then your Airbnb lady.
Yes, but my officiant, she is only friends with me. My husband wanted to make sure that it was someone that was not denominational, because he's an atheist and I'm a Christian. So I had a friend of mine who lived near the town where we were getting this Airbnb at. I said, hey, have you ever thought about maybe getting ordained to marry someone? And she's like, no, why would I? And I was like, well, about that. Would you? And she was like, yeah, I would do that for you. Funny thing is, her name was Amber. And her and her boyfriend at the time and her daughter, who took the only 13 pictures that we have of our wedding, were the only ones there. The Airbnb lady, I did send her a text message, and I was like, hey, just to let you know, is it okay if we get married real quick outside in that gazebo? And she was like, sure, that would be fine. And we went in, and she had made this whole honeymoon basket, and she had made us a wedding cake, and it was really cute. But
yeah, that was really sweet of her.
It really was.
So then you adopted them, which was a super emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Because you had started the process during COVID.
Yes. And at the time, there's a lot of legal things that we're not going to get into, but we had to make sure that none of that was going to be an issue, because their mother had passed away. So there was just a lot of things that we had to iron out, and then COVID happened, and to get an adoption that isn't needed, it isn't necessary, they're not words of the state or anything like that, to even get a court date for that, it was basically impossible. So we kind of had to put it on the back burner. The kids could be on my insurance, so they were all taken care of. They could still be in my will, all of that. So all of that was taken care of, but they couldn't legally be mine until we could get all that put through. But
yeah.
And everybody was there the day that we adopted.
There was an emergency situation that did get the adoption pushed through a little faster. And we did get to be present in the courtroom, and let me tell you, I cried.
The judge did close the courtroom. We did know the judge. He's a family friend. And he did close the courtroom just because he knew of the situations that have been going on. So
yep.
He closed the courtroom. He actually had agreed to that at my aunt's funeral because my aunt worked for him. We all went to Mexico to have weight loss surgery. So even though we're still chunky, we have lost
we were a
couple of people. So
but changed our lives. It was amazing. So glad we did it.
Yeah.
Would absolutely go back to Mexico.
Oh yeah.
For
greatest experience.
Yeah. It was fantastic. But it was one of those situations where Paige mentioned it,
Yeah.
She had been watching it on TikTok,
I know.
and I had been talking about it for several years, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And then I finally just texted you all, and I was like, okay, how, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how serious are we about going to Mexico?
And I was like, I already put in a consultation. That's how serious I am.
Yeah, and then I think Paige immediately did hers.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, crap, I gotta hurry up and do this.
And then that one didn't work out for me because I had to have weight loss surgery again. I have some medical issues that I had to have it done again. Kim can tell you that story someday. She cried harder than I did. Actually, I bought her some Reese cups and stuff. Whenever she's like, you need a liver transplant. It's like, we're not there yet. She was just,
I was distraught.
my
and she was
ex-husband
just
texted
like,
me and he said,
okay.
you broke her. She's broken right now. And I was like, it's me. It's not her. I'm broken. And he was like, no, you broke her. But we did decide to go to Mexico. I filed for the next place. And whenever I got accepted there, they did theirs as well.
Yep.
And we were like, we want it all done in one fell swoop. So
Yeah,
I went first, and then you went,
I think
and
so.
then,
And then
Paige
was
went at
last.
like midnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm telling you, I'm glad that I did not do it alone. Hearing your stories from when you were younger,
The first time, yeah. that
yeah.
was-
I am so glad that I did not have to do it alone.
Oh yeah.
It
that
was
was
nice
terrible.
having a built-in support system.
Yeah, it was not fun having it done the first time because I will never forget that the day I came home from having my first gastric bypass. Yes, I've had it twice. Leave me alone. I had 2 children after that, so you
Things
shouldn't
happen.
probably have
It's
weight loss
fine.
surgery at 17, but I did. But they brought home Papa John's, and I will never forget that. I'm like, how inconsiderate are you? But this time, my husband, like before I did, he brought home Oreos to the hotel room. He's like, well, I'm gonna have to eat. And I was
It's fine.
like,
He didn't get to eat those Oreos.
he did not. He did not get those Oreos.
No.
He did not because I was on a 3-day, clear liquid diet. No. Mm-mm. No,
No.
those Oreos went far, far away. He did not get them.
No.
He could have bought some while I was in surgery. That would have been fun because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't get to keep those.
No, but
Oreos.
instead he spent hundreds of dollars on his game like a crack whore because he was so nervous.
Yes. I woke up to, you have 39 charges, and I was like, how do I was literally knocked out. No, he was playing Magic the Gathering and opening up packs or something. I don't know, whatever
Something to
they
make
do.
him feel better.
Yeah, he was
He
like,
was a
I
nervous
was
wreck.
worried. I was like, you could have went and got some more Oreos. That would have been cheaper, but whatever.
Nope. 39 packs made him supposedly feel better in the moment.
Yeah. Not our bank account, though.
No. No.
No.
I don't even remember what that added up to, but my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he, on that trip home, he lost his wallet with his ID.
Oh my
He
God.
had his social security card on him for some reason, even though
And
I
the
had his
boys'
passport. Yeah, and he had the boys. Why he took the boys out of the safe, I will never know. And he's like, well, the day before we were doing the adoption, I thought I might need them. I'm like, did I tell you to get them?
Yeah,
And he's
but he
like,
takes them out of the country.
he doesn't really think that far.
He really doesn't, but it's fine. Yeah, so that was great. In the process of crossing the border from Tijuana back into the U.S. is where this got lost, and we discovered
at
the airport that I guess it fell out of his pocket in the I don't know, was it an Uber? They provided it.
I don't know. It was medical transport
know.
that was provided from the.
Something like that.
Yeah, but
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to tell stories about Tijuana because
don't worry, we can tell you plenty of stories about Tijuana.
I can't tell you how many times I thought we were gonna hit 7-year-old kids standing in the middle of the road.
And there's our puppy.
Well,
But
just
here's
come
the
on.
thing, we could afford a much nicer home if it was 4 incomes,
Yep.
making the mortgage payment. So then it became,
We're just gonna look.
yeah.
Like we're just gonna go for funsies.
So our real estate agent that had sold my and Randy's house back to Randy's grandparents, we can go over that story months
later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then she sold you your house.
Then she sold me my house, which was right across the street from my old house.
Worked out great, actually.
And I messaged her and I said, we want you to put Randy and Kim's house on the market, and we want you to find us. And we gave her the criteria.
Mhm.
I was like, however, I already have like, and she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you read it right. You did.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, I mean, that's different. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't know if that's going to work. Like, are we looking for two houses that are just like, no.
I mean,
One house.
At one point, though, we had even talked about, like, oh, we could do a compound, like Mom
Yes.
and Paige and everybody
And
can
we're still
move.
kind of open to that.
We are.
So,
Eventually.
yeah. But we have to stay in this house for a while.
Yeah.
So.
So we started looking, and we, just for funsies, went to a couple of houses. They were terrible. They were terrible. None of them would have worked. They all needed so much work. It was not. So we were like gonna accept the fact that, like,
Yeah, it
it's not
wasn't.
meant to
We were
be,
like,
it's not meant to be.
if God doesn't want us to do it, He's gonna throw up red flags, and it's just not gonna work.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm good with that. Like, we went to this one house that we thought was gonna be perfect, and like, turned out that, like, you know, my ex-husband couldn't stand up in the basement. That they had fully, like,
listen, he's
finished.
tall, but he's only 6'3", and he was hitting the ductwork.
So we just kind of decided that it wasn't for us.
No.
We had looked at this house, and
Well, first we drove separately to Cincinnati.
yes, we
because
did.
we were picking up the kids from.
We took Rhiannon and his youth group to
Yes.
the airport. They went to, it's called NYC, so it's a Nazarene Youth convention, and they have it every 3 or 4 years.
And we needed 2 vehicles to get them home, so
Yeah.
we had to drive separate to go pick them up. Well, come to find out, once we got to the airport, me and her both had a real long talk with God on the way there.
Yeah, I was like,
And
listen.
neither of us knew that was happening.
So we get to the airport, and I was like, listen, don't think that I'm crazy. But me and God had this talk the whole way here.
I was like, oh my God, me too.
Yeah, I was like, I was just like, and I was like, and me and God are just like, we've decided that, like, either, you know, He's either going to let this happen or He's not going to let this happen. And we're just going to be okay with it because we still live across the street from each other. And it's difficult, which people do not understand why it was so difficult. But if you have 10 people that you're taking care of, it's difficult to do
It
that.
really is.
And
then, like, having to decide where they want to spend the night, and like where
Yeah.
they're going to eat, and where all their clothes are going to stay, and like it was movie night. It was like, well, it's just easier if we all did it together.
yeah.
So, anyways, I don't even remember how this house came about.
Me and Randy looked at it several times because
But
it had
separately, oddly enough.
separately, yeah. He had no idea because it was out in the county, and we didn't want anything that was in the city. I am not a city person, and I could go out in the boonies and I'd be all right. I'm not a people person, even though I was in customer service for 10 years.
Same.
But we had looked at it, and I said, Randy, just look at this one house. I don't know why I keep coming back to it, but like, just look at it. I was
The
like,
yard's terrible,
I said, the
but-
yard's bad. I said, but square footage, I can't figure out where this is. I was like, it's 5,000 square feet. We've not seen anything that large that's in our price point that doesn't need like at least $150,000 worth of work. And he was like, oh my God, I've been looking at that too. So then we all sat down and looked at the pictures. Me and Kim had kind of worked out like where,
Yeah, we were
The
like, this
rooms
has got
were-
to be where it connects.
yeah. And when we pulled into the driveway here, in my head, because I don't think I said it out loud.
No, not until after.
Yeah. I was like, please let me hate this house. Please let me hate this house.
Because it's in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, our neighbors are like,
They're not like super close, but
but it's a neighborhood.
it's not what we wanted.
And there's definitely not the land that we originally wanted.
No.
We're talking, we wanted acres and a pond and the whole, no.
We were willing to settle without the pond. At least if we had like 2 or 3 acres.
Yeah.
We wanted
However,
more.
The
than
guy that
that,
read our moonstone said that it would be a tree line drive, and it kind of was coming
Yes.
up the hill.
Yes.
I mean, it was. But we came in, and because like from the road, it just looks like a ranch.
I was
you
like,
know?
there's not 5,000 square feet here.
No.
Not of livable space. There's
No.
not.
And we walked in, and we were impressed. It was a nice house. It didn't really need any work. It had carpet, which it still has carpet. We are not a fan of that, but that'll come eventually. But we started going, and the house just kept going and going and going. There's like 6 bedrooms, 3 living rooms, 2 kitchens. I mean, it ended up being huge. And it's because it had a fully completed basement that you just can't see from the front of the house.
Yeah, and you really just don't realize. And even the guy who did our inspection, he was like, "This house is very sprawling," and I was like, "That's a good word.
That is a very good word for
Yeah.
it. And then we looked at it, and we like figured out like where everybody would be, where all of the kids' rooms would be. And at the time, you and Randy were both working from home, so we needed 2 different offices. So we had figured all of that out. It was gonna work, and we wanted 2 different master suites.
Yes.
So we figured
We
that
wanted
out.
them on opposite sides of the house.
We got opposite sides of the hallway.
Yeah.
Fine. We did beat on the wall,
Yeah.
while we were in opposite rooms just to see
Yeah,
what
with our real estate
soundproof was
agent
like.
standing in the hallway. And she's like, "You're good. I don't hear anything." And I was like, we're good to
And
go. then."
honestly, it's been
Yeah.
it's been pretty.
It's not been
soundproof.
weird. I know you
No,
all
it's
have
not.
questions. It's not been weird.
And feel free to ask us questions. We'll answer them. We're an open book, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyways, we were leaving the house, and we all get back into the van, and the first thing she said,
I wanted to hate it.
"But I don't."
Yeah. And Randy's like, "I don't hate it either."
And I'm pretty sure we came back 3 or 4 times.
We came back 2 more times.
Before we had put the offer in.
Yeah. And then, because we wanted our older kids to see it. Our younger kids did not see the house until we signed, and it was ours.
No.
Because we didn't want to get their hopes up. Like this is a pipeline dream, and if you can hear that, that's my ex-husband singing in the hall.
Yeah. We forgot to tell him that we were recording.
So
Yeah. Anyways.
I didn't hate it, but the kids loved it. They we can blur out their little faces and show the video
Yeah.
of them coming to the house because they were shocked.
Ecstatic.
And
And they knew as soon as you pulled in the driveway, they were like, "That's our new house!" And they love it. Our 3 littles, they have their own bunk room and a whole other side of the basement that is their computers and a couch and games and all of that. Like they have probably a good 1,000 square feet for
Yeah.
just themselves.
yeah, it's a lot of
for
room
me
to
to
live
Yeah.
right next to my old house. No, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, that's kind of genius. I was like, I can just knock on my door for my child support if he forgets.
Mhm.
And I was like, and then he wouldn't have to drive 20 minutes out of the way, or I wouldn't have to drive 20 minutes out of my way to get to their house whenever somebody forgets a backpack. And I was like, so we went and looked at it, and I was like, okay. So we put in a lowball offer. Lowball, like my parents helped me with doing an all cash offer. And they took it. They took it.
Yep.
Mind you, the property was not, the house was not huge, but the property, it does have acreage. So, we bought it, and I was like, okay. So then
we're
they
doing
helped
it.
renovate it. Because I don't paint. She paints everything.
And
But
now
they came over and we did all of that stuff together.
Yeah. And it wasn't even a question. Like,
Yeah, it
we
was
were
just-
just like, okay, when are we doing this?
Yeah. But it was we still weren't like close.
No, we weren't super close at that time, but it had gotten a lot
But
better.
I wasn't there yet. But I
With
got
the
there
preschool,
because we really did need that because I
Yeah.
really wanted to go back to work. And I did until now.
Unfortunately,
Until now.
that'll be it.
Yeah.
We'll get into that story because
That's a long one.
yeah.
But yeah, Bryson's he's the one that,
I know.
yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Stay
Bye. Well, you were good up until,
I'm not kidding.
scratching on the door.
I'm not kidding. That light. I don't know what it is. It's just like one side of that light is like really.
I wonder if,
Is it tilted a little bit or something, like more this way?
I don't know. Let me see if there's, because for next time.
It's like, there's eyes. Oh,
Does that do better?
Yeah.
Come back next week and hang out with the moms.
On another episode of
Landed Roots!